Today I'm going to show you how to answer TOEFL Speaking Question 2 using an easy response framework called the grid. Let's get into it. Did you know that according to ETS in 2022, only 13% of the applicants for professional license groups scored 26 or higher in TOEFL Speaking? So that's pharmacists and other highly motivated test takers. To join this elite minority, you need three things, okay? You need a reliable response framework. You need an accurate feedback mechanism and score predictor. And you need a way to practice and iterate or experiment. By now, you know that My Speaking Score has a library of free practice tests that you can take in one of two modes: AI assist mode to practice and iterate and experiment, and real mode when you want to enforce all the rules of the TOEFL speaking section. My Speaking Score also uses ETS's Speech Rater scoring engine, which gives you accurate insights and TOEFL speaking score prediction immediately. This video is about applying a response framework that I call the grid to question 2 of the TOEFL speaking section. There's a link below that will take you to the first video about using the grid for question 1 if you missed that one. Okay, question 2 in TOEFL speaking is called an integrated task because it requires you to use more than one skill, reading and listening, to respond effectively and earn a high score. The grid simplifies how you take notes and structure your response so you can deliver a more fluent and high-scoring answer. Each section of the grid represents 20 seconds of speaking time. You want to use a minimum of 50 words per section here. And some of this can be memorized. Remember, the grid is both a note-making tool and a response-generating tool. As you read, jot down the two main points mentioned in the reading here. As you listen to the conversation, make notes about how the opinionated speaker responds to each of the points. Let me show you how this works so you can do this yourself. Go to ETS Prep on My Speaking Score. I'll choose AI Assist mode here, task 2. This is the famous auditorium task. Pause the video here. Let's read and extract the two main points. Take notes with me, okay? Extract the two main points from the reading. Okay, did you get the two main points? So the key points are the auditorium is too old and the auditorium is too small. So here's what the first part of your grid should look like. Then we just put a template on it. You can use mine from my free Substack course, or I also love this one from Test Resources. It's so simple. Recall, I want this to be about 20 seconds. Here's what that sounds like using the Test Resources template. According to the announcement in the campus publication, the university has decided to tear down its auditorium and build a new one. This is because the school has determined the auditorium is too old and too small to serve its students, and a new structure will more effectively accommodate the student body. Now, we haven't heard the conversation yet, so we don't know who has the opinion or even what the opinion is, but we know for sure either the male or the female will oppose or support the proposal in the reading. So thus, we have an easy template. According to Test Resources, we can say there are two reasons why the man in the conversation opposes this change. I actually prefer the man in the conversation strongly opposes this decision for two reasons, or the woman in the conversation strongly supports this decision for two reasons, something like that. Continue to take notes for part 2 and part 3 of the grid and get ready as the conversation begins. Prepare your grid in advance by putting the two main points you know one of the speakers will be speaking about. So at the top of part 2, just put too old. At the top of part 3, put too small. Those are the points that the speaker is going to address, right? Below each point, jot the details of the speaker's argument. Let's listen and take notes.
I wish they wouldn't do this. Really? But the place is so old.
Yeah, but I like that. I think it's a nice, historic-looking building.
Well, I guess it's kind of pretty.
It's an important part of the university's history. It was one of the first things built on campus. We should preserve that, not get rid of it.
That's a good point. But what about the need for an expansion?
I don't think it's necessary.
But it was built when the university was so much smaller.
That's true, but think about it. Have you ever seen the space completely full?
Well, no, I guess not.
Me either. There are never any events when the entire student body is there. In fact, there are usually just a small number of students in the audience for a play or a concert.
That's true.
So why make it bigger if it works as is?
I see what you mean.
I mean, there isn't much to do on campus besides go to the movies. If there were other forms of recreation or other social activities, I don't think most students would have said that going to the movies was their first choice.
Okay, let's compare notes. Your notes help you remember details, okay? But they really help you structure your response. Let's run through this. First, it's clear the man in the conversation does not support this idea, this plan, this decision, right? So following the test resources template, we can say either there are two reasons why the man in the conversation opposes this change. You can certainly modify this transition to anything you think you can deliver fluently that you can memorize and use reliably. I prefer using the man in the conversation strongly opposes this decision for two reasons, for two important reasons, something like that. So I'll use that in my response. The man in the conversation strongly opposes this decision for two reasons. Of course, you can choose, and maybe you even have a better transition. So now we know the man feels like the university should preserve this nice old building rather than tear it down because of its historical significance. In AI assist mode, you can actually reveal the transcript to see what the man is saying, okay? So you can be super clear on what the points are. Second, the man thinks that the existing structure is not too small since the auditorium is never at capacity. So now all we need to do is run this second and third part through the test resources template. Here's what it sounds like. First of all, he argues that the auditorium is a nice and historically significant building that is an important part of the campus and the university's heritage, and tearing it down would be a terrible shame, and the school should try to preserve rather than destroy such an important landmark. Moreover, he mentions that the proposed expansion is unnecessary because the existing auditorium, the current structure, is rarely, if ever, at capacity because the building is never used by all the students at the same time. And so the students simply do not require a larger facility to watch plays or to watch concerts. Great. Now let's see the score for this response. Notice my words per minute here, which is a strong predictor of TOEFL speaking success. Really pay attention to your speaking rate, and in fact, all of these fluency metrics here. Let's see what Journal says about this. Okay, looking good. As a final note, please let me mention that to get accurate results on my speaking score, you need to take tests in real mode from time to time, right? To make sure that you're getting a reliable estimate of your TOEFL speaking skills and score. Please come back for the next video where I'll show you exactly how to adapt the grid to structure a high scoring response to question 3. So until then, happy practicing.